8, Oshana and Ochodonjupa 3 each, Comas and Karas 1 each, and then those are the hospitalized cases. No death was recorded during the period under review. By the 11th of July 2022, a total of 479,922 people aged 18 years and above have received one dose of COVID-19, which represent 33% of the target population. A total of 155,004 have received Johnson & Johnson vaccine, while 266,195 adults have received 2 doses of other vaccine types. All in all, 421,199 adults have completed their vaccination schedule, translating into 29% of that adult target population. 24,445 children aged 12 years and between 12 and 17 years have received 1 dose of Pfizer vaccine, which represent 8% of that target population. And of these, 12,429 are fully vaccinated. The cumulative number of people vaccinated with the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine for both adult and children stand of 504,367, of which 433,628 are fully vaccinated, translating into 24.4% of the total target population. $78,209 people have received COVID-19 vaccine booster dose. In terms of summary, the cumulative cases thus far since the beginning of the pandemic, including reinfection, stand at 169,371, of whom 165,147 have recovered, giving us a recovery rate of 97.5%. It is also significant to note the milestone that more than half a million Namibians have now received at least the first dose of COVID-19. Total death due to COVID-19, 3,717, and also 351 are COVID-related deaths, giving us a total death of 4,068. So far, we have tested samples amounting to 1,065,378. Total number currently in our quarantine facility stand at 349. This concludes today's update. I thank you.
There we have it, Namibia, our COVID-19 update for the day. Those of us that are eligible for vaccination, let us please go out and get vaccinated. As I said, today we are focusing on one of the governmental programs that had been in existence since 1990, but with a special focus on change in the system. And in studio, I am joined by, from my immediate left, Mr. Stephanus van Steerden, a Director for Solutions Architecture in the Office of the Prime Minister. Good afternoon, sir. We are also joined by Ms. Petra Simasiku. She is a Deputy Director responsible for National Population Register in the Ministry of Home Affairs, Immigration, Safety and Security. Good afternoon, ma'am. Thirdly, we are joined by Mr. Albert Beaver, who is a Deputy Director For social welfare in the Ministry of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Last but not least, we are joined by Mr. K. Strauss, a system administrator in the Ministry of Gender Equality, Poverty Eradication and Social Welfare. Good afternoon, sir. So we are here to actually explain what necessitated the change in the system, the interim measures the various stakeholders have undertaken, and the way forward. As you have heard yesterday, the Honorable DM actually issued a statement in Parliament with regards to the same system. So my first question goes to Mr. Strauss. In a nutshell, what is integrated social assistance system? Just in a nutshell, what is that system?
Okay, ISIS is a web-based application, and it allows the regional and district staff members to immediately capture advices in their offices, and it also improved the integrity of the system in terms of the data integrity. It also helps us to reduce on duplications of that we currently have, or that we used to have on the previous or older system.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Strauss. Moving on to Mr. Van Steerden, I would want to find out what has necessitated the ministry to change its database from the old social assistance system to the new integrated social assistance system.
Thank you for the question. I think social system in Namibia has a very long history predating independence. So the system that they were running was developed around 1997. And then from there onwards, it was continuously maintained and updated with new content functions. But we have reached the stage where it did not serve the ministry's needs anymore, neither that of the clients that we're serving. And another important factor was that the technology used became end of life. So it means that there was no further development from those who created the technology to go forth. So we took a decision around 4 years ago to actually re-look how we can create a new system based upon the features that Mr. Strauss indicated, using better technology, which is more modern, and it will address the needs of our citizens far better. And I think that's basically that necessitated all of this.
Okay, for interest's sake, we would want to find out how many people are currently on this ISAS. Again, staying with Mr. Van Steerden.
Sticking to me. Okay, if we look at the old age beneficiaries, maybe I must just indicate the system is catering for 3 primary groups. Okay, so the first group that we have is old age beneficiaries, which we're currently hosting 192,866 people. So that's quite a lot. And then we have the disability grants, which is around 47,430. And then there's another grant, which is those for children, which still resides on the old system, but which is in a process or nearly ready to be migrated to the new system. Now, I think in total, if we look at the database size, it would then be around 330,000 total beneficiaries, which is quite a considerable amount. Now, if we look further, one must realize that this system is part of the whole group of social safety net systems. So this is one of the components which covers the core beneficiaries of government in this case. But then we still have Veterans Affairs and also disaster and risk management. So ultimately, the aim in the future would be to get all of these together so that we holistically look at social assistance, social safety nets. Okay, thank you.
That's actually good to note. I would want to find out from Mr. Strauss, how was the system developed and who played a significant role in the development of this system?
Thank you for the question. The system was developed in-house with the assistance of Office of the Prime Minister, who played a huge role in supporting the ministry with the development. Yeah, and yeah, so that's basically the role players in the development of ISAS. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for that elaborative answer. Namibia, if you are just joining us, we are discussing the integrated social assistance system, We have officials from various stakeholders are actually helping us unpack this very crucial discussion. However, of course, we would want you to form part of this very conversation by 1/2 and the number to dial in studio to be 061 400 397. And in an event you're joining us on our social media platforms, which can either be Facebook or YouTube, our Facebook handle will be Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Haifeng Republic of Namibia, whilst on YouTube we are at MICT Namibia. Moving on with our discussion, I'm staying with you, Mr. Strauss. I would want to find out and also help the Namibian nation understand what does the new integrated social assistance system entail and what are its advantages?
Previously, it's a web-based application, and one of the advantages is that we are able to reduce duplications on the system. It also helps us to improve the integrity of the system. It also helps us to connect with various institutions and organizations and ministries like Social Security, and that will reduce the costs of means testing for the ministry, which, as we all know, that's a huge cost for the ministry. Thank you.
Anything more on the advantages?
On the advantages, is it helps a lot in terms of planning as well. So the ministry has now the capability that we did not have before in terms of better improving the budgeting process, because currently it's a challenge to know exactly how many people are age 16, age 60, and so that helps us. And that is with the connection that we have with NPRS, the Ministry of Home Affairs.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ms. Viva, coming to you. You've been looking towards, I think, or forwards to your question. We would want to find out how will the integration benefit the ministry in the future?
For the question. The very first thing that I should allude to is that the integrated social assistance system has led to the automation of the whole application, verification, and approval process. If I could explain a bit, is that in the past, applications were manually done. But now, with the integrated system, it has been automated. That also has the ability to reduce the time taken to process an application from attestation up to the time that the application is activated on the system. So that has been a huge improvement, or one of the issues that the ministry has looked at. And as earlier alluded, what is essential for us is the reliability of that information. And our appreciation goes to the Ministry of Home Affairs and Integration, Safety and Security for their willingness to come as partners with the ministry to help us make sure that the intended beneficiary and the authentic beneficiary receives the benefit. Thank you.
So one could conclude or partially conclude to say there were ghost beneficiaries on this list, hence the integration from various institutions that form part of the beneficiary group in Namibia.
Yes, you are correct when you say that. We also came across issues of identity theft that has baffled us a bit, where people have taken or assumed identities of those that have already are deceased. Then we realized that people that had the power of attorney to collect money on behalf of a beneficiary, when the beneficiary has died, never reported the deceased case and has continued to benefit. So all those aspects have been addressed through the integrated process.
Okay, so of course in the long run we are definitely going to be saved some of our Namibian dollars. Namibia, as I say, this is a national discussion and would want you to form part of this very conversation and give your contribution. We are officially opening our lines in studio and the number to dial will be 061 400 397. 061 400 397. Or you can put your comments, questions, contribution in whatever form really on our social media platforms where we are streaming this show live. On Facebook, our handle there is Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Haifeng Republic of Namibia. While also on YouTube, we are at MICT Namibia. While we wait for your comments, questions, and contribution, we move on with the discussion. Mr. Van Steeden, how was the ISAS implemented and when was the first run down?
From a implementation perspective, look, the system is not just created and then just put in place. So it went through a fair process of piloting, user acceptance testing, and I believe that we started with the first actual operations last month, where there was a small groups of people started to physically capture. And they've been rolling out now to all the offices, I believe. And the first run was done in June. So the first payment will be in July, I believe, from the new system. So there were some parallel runs comparing it with the old system just to see that the similar results were obtained. So from now onwards, we should but slowly phase out the old system in terms of the parallel runs, and just to make certain that the new one continues in a proper fashion. So what I mentioned here also that it's not just the operational system in terms of how to administer the system, it's also a payment system. So this is basically a payroll, which is connected through the Bank of Namibia to actually do bank payments. So it does EFTs, and then it's also linked to a paymaster for mobile payments, which makes it a little bit more complex than a normal registry. And then there's also parts of reconciliation for those who have not collected the money, as well as those which have failed, or payments failed in terms of bank account details that was incorrect. So it's a far wider scope of activities that is involved than just registries. Yeah, thank you.
Moving to you, Mr. Beaver, I would want to find out how was the public informed about the envisaged migration from the old system to the new one?
Thank you very much. The normal process that we were following all along was what we call the review process. This review process is scheduled annually. In this process, we require the beneficiary to show up at least once a year at the pension office in order to check whether the particulars are intact. The information that we have is recent, and that the documents that they have and what we have on our file speaks to each other. That is the first communication that has been ongoing. The second one is that we went on the national radios in the different vernaculars and have explained in detail how ISAS operates, that we have migrated from SAS, which is the social assistance system, to ISAS, the integrated system, how it operates, what the expectations are, how it will influence the new application processes, and at the end of the day, the benefits that it has, that we have also explained over the media. We have had a discussion at the Executive Directors Forum. My minister has briefed the Parliament and also the Cabinet. So we have been spreading our news, maybe in the scale that we anticipated initially, but slowly but surely the message is reaching the masses. Then also, what we have also explained is that the system has enhanced efficiency. And through the system, we could delete almost 5,000 beneficiaries. The exact number is about 4,156 that we could delete, and which resulted in a saving of 5 million Namibian dollars per month to the ministry. So
Did you just say per month?
Per month to the ministry. So and now that also means that more people can be added to the system, and more old age beneficiaries can benefit. Thank you.
Mr. Masiko, would you want to add anything on that?
Thank you for the question. Yes, from the side of Home Affairs, we were very happy to be brought on board to partner with the Ministry of Gender Equality, because Home Affairs, being a ministry that is mandated to issue uh, birth certificates, identity documents, and us being the ones that manages the National Population Register that records all these events, such as the birth, the death, and all the other vital events. What we have seen from this whole exercise is that a lot of people that were still receiving pensions are in fact dead on the system. Although some are recorded as dead, although they are still alive, we have witnessed in the past that a lot of people have unfortunately registered their relatives as dead, maybe for pension, for insurance purposes or whatever purpose, so that they can claim. So when people come up now, they will find that they are recorded as deceased on the system, while in fact they are alive. So this system has brought us to a level where a lot of people have noticed that something is not right with my record and I need to rectify it.
All right. Namibia, we are still looking forward to your contribution to the discussion. As earlier alluded to, the number to dial in studio, it will be 061 400 397. And you can also put your comments, questions on our social media platform where we are streaming this show live. Our handle on Facebook is Ministry of Information and Communication Technology hyphen Republic of Namibia, whilst on YouTube we are at MICT Namibia. We are looking forward in an event you have a question on, maybe you are affected by the system and you don't know what to do. These are the experts in the studio to assist you in that regard. Again, as you wait for your contributions in whatever form, really. All right, noted. Again, as we continue with our discussion, whilst we wait for any callers or contribution on our social media platforms, we move on. I would want to find out from Mr. Beaver, how many people have been affected by the IS implementation in terms of percentage-wise, and also in actual way, in which way were they affected in terms, as I said, of percentages, and also what does the percentages of this beneficiary constitute?
Okay, thank you very much. Those that were affected by this process culminates to 14,347 beneficiaries. And from those, we have about 249 people with disability that were benefiting on a temporary basis. Their disability is of a temporary nature, and with the necessary assistance, they could be helped to recover. Now, these 14,000 people, we have got different scenarios. One is that the person, when he or she applies, had this surname but got married and the surname has changed, but they never came back to us to say, I got married and this is my new surname. Or people could have applied for name and surname change with the Ministry of Home Affairs. And after that has been done, they did not inform the office as such. Others may have had birthday revisions. And once you have the birthday revision, ultimately your identity number also changes. So, and then also on our part, from the ministry side, we have also some data entry mistakes that were made, like if you have a...
Mr. Beaver, hold on to that thought. We have a caller on the line, Mr. Abdul from Windhoek. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, my darling. How are you doing, my dear sister?
I'm doing very well. Welcome.
I'm doing okay. Good afternoon, my dear four brothers and one sister. Three brothers, I think, one sister. And good afternoon to your listeners, madam.
Good afternoon.
you.
Please go ahead
Yeah.
and give your contribution.
Oh, okay. Oh, two sis. Yeah, one sister. I hope I'm watching your show. Okay. First of all, I want to know from Minister of the Poverty and Eradication over this money that we are talking about. Now, my concern is that how much does this money is being supposed to be given to the people, and where does this money has to found in? Is the money coming from the people itself, or is it coming from the pocket of the government form? If it's coming from the government form, is it taxed by when the person is working, and then when he's reached in the old age is when they're going to start giving his money, or you are getting your money through by when you are alive? Because most of the time, as he's saying, when people are getting old and dying, you find most of the families are interfering in these person's children or families on their own money that are be left under their policies, under this poverty, whatever, eradication in the farm.
Mr. Abdul,
Yeah.
let me quickly just interject you and see whether you understand the context of the discussion. The focus is on the three groups that benefit from the social grant of government.
Yeah, the beneficiary.
It's, it's the beneficial. So are you asking whether the funds that they are getting had been budgeted for and where this money is coming from?
Yes, and to who is going to be given, and those who are going to be affected later when this disease, or if it's alive or it's disease, children have been there.
Okay.
To be having a problem and receiving their funds from their families members. And then now my question to the Home Affairs. One, how long is these people are supposed to be registered to wait for their particulars for them to be given by these funds that are from government poverty eradication? Second question, why did Home Affairs are not able to register all members, beneficial men and women who are supposed to qualify, especially coming down to the rural area, and the whole urban country itself at large? Because when we are talking about registrations, we have only few people are being qualified, and the rest of the people are not qualified. If we are talking about saving the people for poverty by helping them in giving, then we all need that all members, whether being young or old, as long as you are as a Namibia, you are qualified under the poverty education to make this country a greater ahead. Thank you very much, sir.
All right,
Madam.
Mr. Abdul.
A blessed day.
Likewise.
Okay, bye.
All right. So, taking from Mr. Abdul's contribution to the discussion, he would want to find out the categories of these beneficiaries, as well as the requirements for you to form part of that category. Maybe just one of you guys can actually just enlighten again or refresh their mind at which categories of beneficiaries are we looking at, and also the requirements that the government is considering for you to be part of those beneficiaries.
Okay, thank you so much. Since it is in my mandate, let me explain the following. In terms of the enabling legislation, that is now the National Pensions Act, Act 10 of 1992, we've got two categories that is specifically catered for under that specific legislation. That is the old age grant, where it is required that a person must have attained the age of 60 years when he or she applies. And we require the person to submit birth certificate and the national identity document when they apply. And the second category is the people with disability. Now, in this instance, the definition is clear in terms of the law, that those that qualify for a disability grant must be a person that, owing to his or her inability to work, cannot provide for him or herself. That is the bottom line. And such a person went through an assessment by the state medical doctor. This assessment, again, is verified and approved by the chief medical officer. And on those basis, we pay for these two categories. The amount that we are paying for them is 1,300. The last category, or two last categories that we can refer to is the children's grant in terms of the Child Protection Act for vulnerable children, orphans and vulnerable children, and also children with disability that are below the age of 16 years. If you are above the age of 16 years, you qualify for the normal disability grant. But when you are below the age of 16 years, we talk about the child disability, and we refer to it as the special maintenance grant. And you apply for it. The special maintenance grant is the one where the cabinet has reviewed the current amount for the grant and would be increased to 1,300, while all the other grants remains, children's grants remains at 250. The amount paid for the old age grant and the disability grant is also 1,300. Now you have got different modes, or the last category is the conditional basic income grant that we are talking about. That is the former food bank beneficiaries have now been translated to conditional basic income grant and are receiving a 500 Namibian dollar on a monthly basis. All these people have got the opportunity to receive their grants, one, through their bank accounts, the private bank accounts, or smart card accounts at Nampos, or they can through the cash payment, the card that runs through the whole country, village by village, or at an institution. If, for instance, an old age person is at an old age home, you could request that your grant be sent to the institution. The entire grant is a budget by the ministry, and is from the government appropriation bill or appropriation act at the end of the day. So no private person is paying, it's the government that pays through the tax system. This amounts to, and we call it pay-as-you-go system. This amounts to the beneficiaries.
Perfect.
Maybe I can hang it there.
All right. That is well put, Mr. Abdul. I hope you have all the necessary information you need to make an informed decision or to take up your complaint in an event you felt you were disadvantaged. Before we had a caller, Mr. Beaver, you were speaking about the figure of those that are affected by the system and how. Could you kindly wrap up on that one?
Yeah, at the end of the day, what we have established is that those that were affected through the process constitutes about 5.97% of the total beneficiaries that we have on the system. And subsequently, we anticipate that that number will also decrease as we progress in reloading and recapturing the information of those that were unfortunately not loaded because of the different aspects that I have explained earlier on. And we anticipate to complete that exercise by August. Thank you.
All right. Moving on, or rather staying with you, Mr. Beaver, it seems like you're the champion of this discussion, eh? We would want to find out what are the efforts your ministry is making to recapture these beneficiaries, and how will you ensure that the beneficiaries receive their July grant that they have missed?
Okay, thank you so much. Firstly, we have revisited the database, and we have identified who are the people that are affected through this process, and we have a list of those names available and at our disposal. We have also looked at which areas are the ones that are mostly affected, and subsequently we have deployed our officers and the staff members in the offices to pay attention to reloading and to capturing the information. The staff members have now been also granted relief to work overtime in order to recapture the people at the shortest possible time. Currently, we have already successfully loaded and verified about 3,000 beneficiaries, and we are still going strong. They await approval, and once they are approved, they will now be activated on the system. Also, your question, will they receive their payment? Yes. They only missed this July payment, and it must be clear, and I want to make it categorically clear. is that they only missed this July payment. And when we have them back on the system and we go for the August payment, then they will be paid both July and August, a double payment at the end of the day. But this is only for those that have missed the July payment. It would not go for everybody, but only for those that have missed the July payment.
All right. So it's only July. It's put on record. It's only July. We don't want to hear I've missed May, June, or whatnot. This is a collective effort from various stakeholders. Is there anybody that want to add anything to what Mr. Beaver said? Mr. Mastida, do you want to add anything? Mr. Masiko, would you want to add anything?
Not now.
Not now. Okay, moving on with our discussion. We are still with you, Mr. Beaver. As I said, it seems like you're the champion, and of course, with your supporting team here, they could, of course, add on to whatever you have to say. What should these beneficiaries that have been affected by this situation do?
Yeah, thank you again. The very first thing that we would require them is to heed to our call that we have been making all along, that you visit the office at least once a year for the verification process or the review process, the language that we use in the office. But for those that are affected now, we require you to go to the nearest pension office. The right way to do it would be that you visit the original office where you have applied.
Okay.
Simply because your file with your particulars are at that office. And it's important for us to update your file now so that your file is in tandem with what the database offers at the end of the day. So if there's anything that needs to be rectified, then it needs to be rectified. When you go to the office, we require of you to take along your birth certificate, your identity document, your marriage certificate, and those that have opted to receive money through the bank or smart card. Please bring along the letter from your bank or your smart card of numbers. There is a reference letter that you are the authentic owner of that account and what your account number is. That will help us to update your particulars on the system. And also in the next run, it will help us also. So that is in short the message that we are bringing to our beneficiaries. Please go to your nearest pension office. If at all you can afford it, go to the original office where you have applied. Thank you.
Thank you. As a way forward, in our conclusion, I'm starting with you, Mr. Van Steeden. Do you have any last words for our viewers and listeners?
Yeah, maybe just from a way forward, where we are going, and I think this is quite important to know. I think this was the first stage of moving away from a centralized model to a decentralized model. We actually do the processing from the regional offices. Quite obviously, the next stage after this will actually to take that counter and to put it into the hands of those who are actually directly benefiting. So they're allowing them to apply online.
Okay.
So that is definitely the space that we're looking at now. So mobile applications and then online applications, which will definitely help to streamline and open up the accessibility. So, and the other area that we're looking at is to integrate to more institutions to help to improve the data quality, but also to help us to reduce double dipping. Yeah.
Ms. Simasiku, 10 seconds. What are your final remarks?
For Home Affairs side, we would say to the affected beneficiaries to please come to our office to ensure that their records are corrected and are up to date on the system. Would also want the public to also know that we have regional offices in all the regions, 14 regions of Namibia. And we have sub-regional offices where they are not able to come to the furthest place. They can also contact their councillors. The councillors will contact our office on their behalf. So that everybody will have correct information on our system.
All right. Mr. Beaver, 10 seconds, your final remarks, please.
Thank you. No, mine is to to again bring this promise to the population and the people of Namibia that we are trying to enhance efficiency in our ministry. And if you can help us to reach the goal and objective, we'll appreciate that. Thank you.
Mr. Strauss, 10 seconds.
Okay, thank you so much. We are pleading with the masses out there to be patient with our staff in the regions. They are trying their very best. They are also exposed to a new technology. So please be patient with them. When you visit the office, please know that they are not the ones responsible for this delay. Thank you.
All right. Viewers and listeners, basically, we are all aged. In an event, you have a member of your community, family member, or yourself had been affected, you are urged to go to your nearest Home Affairs offices with your identity document for verification purposes. Until next time, goodbye, Namibia.